Welcome, everybody. We are doing something a little bit different tonight than we typically do on our Tuesday night calls. This one, as you can see, is a guest speaker mastermind call. Dr. Leslie Davis, welcome.
There we go. Good job, Gio.
Good timing. Good timing. Now,
That's awesome. I don't know how you did that.
So, like I said, guys, a few weeks ago, we had a call with Leslie diving into a lot of things around limiting beliefs, things that are blocking artists that most artists are unaware of. And Leslie actually runs what's called Mind Shift, and that is her, as you see, leadership and learning company that she basically does a lot of, what would you call it, like coaching, mentorship?
Yes, it's coaching. Yeah, it's I just help you. I help you radiate authority without being a jerk.
Fantastic. That's so good.
We have a lot of jerks in this call, so that'll be helpful.
I can help you with that.
They're all trying to figure out who you were referencing right now. Everybody's uneasy. They're like, I can't tell who.
Me? Am I the jerk?
Is it me? So, to give you the flow tonight, guys, here's what's going to look like. It's going to be a little bit different from our normal Q&A. What we're going to do is we're going to be opening up the floor to Leslie to just kind of run with it for, probably an hour, up to an hour and a half, whatever she feels is gonna work well. And she's going to run the show a little bit. And we're going to get into, inner blocks, belief systems, stuff like that, self-doubt, things that are blocking artists that she's going to speak into. And then she's also going to dive into the voice and how to use a voice. Is that still accurate? Is that kind of what you're planning on?
Yes, I would love it to be very interactive. That would be great.
Okay. And the plan is, with our normal calls, guys, same thing. If you have a question, drop it in the chat. That way, at any point, you're not going to feel like you're interrupting anybody. We will keep an eye on the chat. And Joey and I, will be interjecting here and there if we have some thoughts and everything. And and then at the very end, we can dive even more into just a conversation around some of these questions and such. And of course, guys, at the very end, we will be posting the links and everything. But if you want to look into what Leslie does, the website is Mindshift. Is it ll.com? Mindshiftll.com?
It is. That
Fantastic.
stands for leadership and learning, despite it being like an LLC.
You want to drop that in the chat, Jason?
Yes. And
Gotcha.
Quick text it. Okay. So all that being said, guys, we are going to get rolling. We'll hand the floor over to you, Leslie. We are excited. It is all yours.
Thank you. I'm going to put a free PDF in here for you if you want it. It goes into some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight, so that can help give you a little bit to work on later. But I definitely love the interaction. I'm teacher by trade, teacher by God-given gift, I guess. So teaching isn't one-sided, despite what people think. So you can't teach something if you don't know what the questions are. So please be interactive with me. And Jason and Joey, I would love for you to pipe in. So I'll tell you just a little bit about my background, and that way you'll know what questions to ask. But I am a vocal leadership and communication coach. That's the direction I have gone after a convergence of many avenues that I have, or parts of my life I have lived. So my professional training is in education. I was a high school teacher in business education and marketing and family consumer science, all the things. And I did that for a while. And I've also been a worship leader most of my life. I started singing probably out of the womb, and then probably singing in church maybe as early as 9 or 10. And I was lucky enough to grow up in a church that celebrated children being a part of the choir and a part of the singing groups. It wasn't a band back then, but it was still something I could participate in. And it's where I learned to put myself out there in stage presence. It's where I learned to cultivate that. And it helped me to not let fear take root in me for stage presence. And I think that's part of when I say radiate your authority without being a jerk, I want to tell you what that means, because it is the foundation of what I work from. And there's a lot of reasons why it sounds the way that it does. So yeah, I went through a lot of heart things being a worship leader. I went from absolutely loving singing and loving being out on the stage and loving connecting with the audience to feeling like everything I did was wrong. I felt like everything was a performance, and I felt like a circus monkey, to be honest. I felt used and abused, and I thought it was God. I thought God was just had me on the stage to be used by whatever the pastors wanted, and I had to learn differently that is not God's heart. And it really makes a difference with your performance and the way that you present yourself on stage. So there's two different types of performance, right, that we talk about. One is the actual act of performing, being on stage, doing the thing, making the connections. There is nothing wrong with that. It's an amazing, beautiful gift to have. It's something we need to use. We got to pull it up from inside of us and radiate it out there for people to connect with. It's what makes the room come alive, and you get to participate in that as the musician, as the vocalist, and as the band. It's not just up to the vocalist to make that happen. It's a synergy of the band. And from there, also, there's a different type of performance, and that is the mask of our culture. That's the mask of striving. And that is when we are performing like the circus monkey, we can very quickly lose sight of what we're doing it for. We can stop the love of our craft. We can fall out of the love of our craft. It's not worth it anymore because we're burnt out and we're striving. So part of what I'm here to do is to help you connect with the love of your voice and the love of your craft so that you can radiate your authority in whatever situation you're in. So who that you show up on the stage is who shows up to your family. They get the same person. They get the same person on stage, off stage. That is called authenticity. And we want to be authentic leaders. And so those are the two different types of performance that I'm talking about today. And I didn't want you to get confused, because the performance of our craft is a good thing. And I think that I think in our culture, we often put it down, and I want you to connect with it instead. So at this point, I would love to answer any questions and go the direction that you want versus what I can assume that you might want.
Okay. Regarding like even the belief systems and like voice and performance, just kind of all of this stuff?
Yes. So I'm sorry, I didn't even finish telling you my background is inner healing and deliverance and worship leading, and my doctorate's in leadership. So from the education system. So that's the convergence of where my expertise lies. And so I can help you with success mindsets, communication. We can talk about the mechanics of the voice. We can talk about the literal and metaphorical voice. And I have lots of things to talk to you about. We can go for hours, but I wanted to make sure to tailor where the direction that we go to what you would like.
There's two things that I see being really, really helpful for everybody today. Lately, what we are getting into a lot is success mindsets and the mindset that it truly takes to become a successful artist. Mostly because, after we talked about this on the interview, but after doing this long enough, Joey and I have realized there are patterns to success and to the artists that find the most success. And the artists that find the success always have a specific way of thinking about the world, thinking about their careers, who they're showing up being, patterns of self-sabotage that slow artists down. So I think that could be a really, really cool place to start.
Mm-hmm. And then another one for the future. I know you talked about authenticity. We've talked a lot about authenticity, but regarding different things. So I'd love to get your take on that. And I love what you said about the two types of performance. And I want to hang on the authenticity part and get to that eventually, because I believe, and we've talked about this in the past, that this extends to more than just being on the stage, and more so also now we're getting into social media and your brand and how you convey yourself. Because we've found that one of the biggest roadblocks for specifically Christian artists is it's easy to come up with Christian music or convey yourself. I'm a Christian artist, but there are layers and deeper there that we're almost kind of masking, and we just want people to see the good side of the positive, encouraging side of our music, but we might be a little bit too afraid to show our true past or our true nature or true colors, whatever we want to say. I would love to talk about that.
Cool. Can we start with mindsets?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's get into success mindsets. I'm in the process, Leslie, of actually working on an internal foundations course. So I'm like neck deep right now into the whole concept of limiting beliefs and what all exist as limiting beliefs. I think we should start there. Could you identify, maybe explain from your perspective, what limiting beliefs are and how these things show up in an artist's life that they might not expect it. They don't even know that it's happening, what it looks like. Can we dive into that first?
Sure. And I also love the question that Jacob asked. I think that it goes into this question too. So, yes, I want to tell you a little bit first before I tell you like the actual, I think the way that we see limiting beliefs are the things that we know that we should be doing that we're not doing. And we know that, just like Paul, we know we should be doing this, but we're not doing it. Why are we not doing it? And there's this wonderful little thing called resistance that is out to get you, to keep you safe. So your brain is wired to keep you safe, and resistance is in partnership with that. That is not to bring you success, but it is necessary to bring you success. And so our brains, the way that they're wired is that we have, so in the center of our brains is our limbic system. And that is the emotional brain. That is what controls all of the primitive processes of our life. That's where we're operating out of in deep emotion. If we are highly upset, if we are angry, if we are acting in ways that when we're in what we call it, our right mind, would not be acting, that's where we're acting from, that control center of the brain. Okay. So then we have many other parts of the brain, but I'm going to also talk about the prefrontal cortex, is the part of the brain that makes our decisions, it's our logic, it's our forethought. It's the way that we process through things, that it's logical. It's the opposite of our primitive brain, right? So that's what makes us human. And it's a wonderful thing that God gave us to be able to work through things, whether or not we feel like it. So when we are in a high state of stress or emotion, we lose access to the prefrontal cortex because our prefrontal cortex is attached by one little blood vessel. And when we have that heightened state of emotion, it kind of shuts off the blood vessel. And then we lose access to that logical reasoning. So that's a very technical explanation of what's going on in the brain. But as we do that, we have to regulate our nervous system and come back online first. Because the heightened state of emotions, our emotions are so good. They're so good. And it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to have all those big emotions. And we also need to learn how to regulate our nervous system so we're not always operating from that place. Okay. So what happens is when we start doing something new and it feels hard, our brains react to it, and it will start to, it's okay. So if you go to the gym and you want to get new biceps, bigger biceps, let's work on them, right? In order to get your biceps to grow, you're going to have to go create some resistance. You're going to have to pick up the bigger weight, and you don't want to pick it up that it's so hard that it hurts you, but you want to pick it up heavy enough that it's going to create resistance for you to work through. And then you work to fatigue. And then when you go to sleep at night, your lovely body starts rewiring your muscles and bringing all that lactic acid in there, and it feels sore, but you're getting stronger. our brains are the same way. So when we are patterned for something through our life, the path of least resistance is where we feel safe. So when we start introducing something that feels hard and feels unfamiliar, we don't have those pathways developed yet. And therefore, our brain comes against us, so to speak, and provides resistance. So it's really not against us. It's trying to keep us safe. It's trying to keep us in those familiar patterns because we know what to expect. But when we're making a change, awareness of that is very important, because then you're not going, I just can't do this. Instead, you're going, this is the resistance that's going to create change. And it's a mindset shift. If you are willing to come into agreement with being okay, not to be okay, being okay with it being hard, and becoming friends with the resistance and allowing it to shape the new pathways of the brain, then you have what it takes to keep going forward from a neurological standpoint. Now, there's many other ways to help this, but I wanted to start with the neurological place, because often we think that it's just too hard, we can't learn something new. And that's completely opposite of what is true. We can learn new things. We can learn new instruments when we're older. We can do so many things that we've been told culturally or through our human existence that we can't unless we start young. It may be harder, but that's because resistance is there. We're having to retrain those patterns in the brain that make us feel safe.
Leslie, okay, so many paths we can take here. There's so many nuggets in here. Guys, let me quick ask you something. For all those who are on this call, have you identified any resistance showing up in your life, your career, since joining the network? Because I would assume all of you have, or if you haven't yet, you probably haven't dove into the course load and everything quite yet. But that is one of the things that we've experienced along our artist journey. And we know a lot of you have been vocalizing lately, is just like, you dive in so much new stuff and all this new stuff, and you know you need to be doing this stuff and working on this stuff, and then procrastination starts to come up, and then resistance starts to come up, and you start to get in your head and feel like you're not putting enough work, not doing enough. And like, how many of you guys, maybe of a raise of hands, are dealing with some level of resistance here? Because I want to find a way to just kind of, make this relevant to you in your situation. Could one of you, for example, maybe share a piece of resistance that you've been identifying popping up in, like, just in your music career?
I wanted to say one thing that for me has been, I was literally just about to type this, but I just started this section in, I think it's still in the beginner course, but the Dream Big section part of it. And the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, that sounds cool. And then it took me forever until today to finally actually do it. And it's not because I didn't think it was a cool thing to do, but I think the idea of dreaming big and making me think, oh, let's think to all the specific things I could be doing in 3 to 5 years. While it's cool at first, me having to do that and then combating those thoughts of, there's no way I can do those things, is a constant battle daily. So I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't start doing it until today.
Great share, dude. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Would you like to speak into that at all, Leslie?
Yes, I can speak into that. First of all, I'm proud of you right now for just speaking it out there, because the first step in making a change is being aware of it. And then once you're aware of it, you can take action on that. You can put things in place and systems around you to help you hold your feet to the fire, to push through that resistance. And it's scary. It's scary to step out like that. It's, the thoughts of, what if I fail? What if I keep doing this and I never see results? Well, what if you do? What's the worst that could happen? What if it fails?
Did you and I talk about this a while ago, of like actually thinking about the worst case scenario? Or I might have heard that somewhere else, but actually sit with the worst case scenario and like feel it. Like, okay, so this is the worst that it can get.
And I've always said, like, with what we've been trying to build is, so what if it fails? You learn something,
Mm-hmm.
and you learn something didn't work. So you're not going to try it again. You're going to try something new or try something different.
It's still
Exactly.
painful.
It's
but
very painful.
It really sucks. But at the end of the day, you're like, I did level up in a way that maybe not the way that I wanted to, but I learned what path not to take. So if anything, it's like Einstein. How many was it? Not Einstein. Guy that made the light bulb.
Edison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Einstein.
The light bulb.
Yeah. How many attempts did they say it took him? It was like 1,000. It was like
Oh, it
something
was more than
stupid.
that. It was
Yeah.
more than that. I can't remember the exact number, but it was in the tens of thousands.
Just absurd.
Yeah.
Who keeps going at that point? Somebody who believes, like, it knows that it's their mission, their purpose, right? That they believe in it, right?
And the other thing I would add to that is, by starting and trying something, you're actually headed in a direction to where you'll know more. And the faster that you go in that direction, the faster you'll learn. So, for example, we've been talking a lot about Facebook ads. And if you start really small, and this is a direct comparison with Facebook ads and data. So if you start really small and you spend $1 a day on ads, you're going to get a certain level of data that comes back at you. But if you spend $100 a day on ads, you're going to see what works way quicker, 100 times faster. You'll see the results. And we apply that to taking action with the example, like growing this Anthem network. How do we grow a community? How do we build all of this stuff? The faster we learn, the faster we'll know what works and what doesn't. But the thing is, the longer people hesitate, the more years will go by before they know what works and what doesn't. And it's actually this kind of spiral that starts to happen where a lot of overthinking starts to creep in.
And by the way, guys, when we're talking about resistance to all this stuff, Joey and I are actively running into resistance just with this network, because it is another new thing that is completely different from our music careers. So eventually you start to get numb to, okay, I finally broke through the resistance, and now this is the new normal for me. Awesome. But then you start another new thing, and it's like, oh my gosh, I thought I was done having to deal with this resistance. So the same resistance that you guys are actively probably feeling right now, just in the Anthem network, like Jacob with that example of like just letting yourself dream big and actually dream about what is possible with your career, and then all these limiting beliefs and everything start coming up, the resistance that you're feeling there, it might look like, oh, Jason and Joey get to lead the podcast, get to lead the network. We're still experiencing that level of resistance, just now with a different thing. And this is where we're starting to really pick up on these patterns, because until you learn to acknowledge the resistance, befriend it, almost welcome it, because like Leslie said, it is actually the resistance that builds the muscles from the workout. If there was no resistance, we'd all be skinny bean poles, there'd be no muscle.
And I want to say, I want to say this to you, Jacob, too, is that when we allow ourselves to dream big, you can start making the little choices to move the dial towards it. And so when our brain is trying to keep us safe, it's not trying to move the dial. It's trying to sit on the couch in the morning and not go to the gym instead of going to the gym. So here's an exercise that you could start with, and this might be in your course too, but just a really simple exercise to start with is like, what would your perfect average day be? And just think through what you would like your day to look like. And this can be a stepping stone to your big vision. So the way that I've started this is to take out a note card, maybe a 4x6 note card, and just map out, I would like to wake up at this time of the morning. And then after I wake up in the morning, I want to have this kind of coffee. I want to do this kind of thing. I have my kids. I want to do this. This is when I want to be working on my business. This is maybe I'm preparing for a gig. Maybe I have a gig. Maybe I have a songwriting session. And you can think through the activities. What would a perfect day look like in your life when you're dreaming big? And what I have found with this a couple of strange things I have found with this. One is my perfect average day that I thought was perfect average is not really what it is at all when I start trying to live it out. And I can change it. We have that power. We have the power to shift and to change and to morph. Two, when you recognize what your perfect average day is, it's not always in the future. You can start doing the versions of those things, if not the exact things, right away. I said, I want to start my day in the gym. I want to wake up at this time of the morning. I want to start my day in the gym, and then I want to do this thing. Well, can I do that now? Or do I have to wait until I've made it? So it creates this awareness that you can start making those baby steps towards where you really want to be, and it can help you be consistent. And what I realized is my perfect average day said I wanted to wake up at 5 a.m. and have quiet time and then go to the gym. And I realized I don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. My perfect average day lets me sleep till 8. So I changed it. But until you start living from that place that you think you want, then you're not going to know how to shift it. So there's this, I call it awareness, action, alignment. To be in alignment, true alignment with where you are inside so that you're showing up how you want to be showing up. First, you have to become aware. If you don't do anything with that awareness, you'll never get anywhere. But you can take action on that awareness. Once you take action on that awareness, you're doing those baby steps, those things, big, little, whatever it is, you're creating alignment within you. And then that's when you really can start moving and showing up and doing the things that you know is in you to do because you want this thing. So the resistance is there to provide a way to dig a path.
Yeah, I was just going to say with that, I think the biggest thing that it's both a wonderful thing to think about, but it's also a very convicting thing is when I keep focusing on the limiting beliefs and like, oh, this can't happen, everything. I also, in a lot of ways, am doubting what God can do, which then makes me go, oh, crap. God is bigger than anything I could imagine, anything. So he can do whatever he wants. And if he's in this, he'll do it. So not doubting him in that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So even do your perfect average day with God. Ask him to breathe on it. Breathe on that time. Dream with him. And I also, one of the other things that showed up for me when I started doing this regularly is I started realizing that there's things for today too. There's the big picture. And I think we talked about this in your interview, guys, but there's the big picture that you need to have in front of you so you know where you're going. But then there's the daily picture too. The daily picture where you have your processes and the things that you need to check off your list to know that you did what your goals were that day. And the Lord this year has had me shift my goals from being this big outcome that I want into my daily goals that are going to get me to the outcome that I want. Because having this goal over here is one thing, but having the processes in place to know that I'm on the path, whether I hit the outcome or not, because ultimately the outcome's not within your control, but the daily processes are. And those are the things that are going to create those new pathways in your brain. And they're going to also create new pathways in your life. You'll physically see the things changing in your world.
I know you're going to want to speak into this as well, Dewey. But something that this is the perfect interjection spot for this. Aaron, you're on the call right now, Aaron Shores. And so, dude, we were going back and forth in the community post that I asked, hey guys, what, limiting beliefs are you identifying that you're dealing with? And one that Aaron was bringing up was, this dream goal, this dream destination, just, it feels out of reach, especially because, listen, I have financial responsibilities. I have a family. I have a wife. I have kids to provide for, and feeling like music can fulfill all of that right now, it feels impossible. It feels completely out of reach. And one thing that I was talking to him about in a response is actually something we also talked about on our interview, Leslie, which is this idea of I think we brought it up when we were talking about affirmations. It's like, okay, affirmations are great until they go a little too big and your nervous system and your mind immediately shut it down because it's like, that's not even, we're not even going to acknowledge that potential because that is way too far out there. And one thing that I was making the analogy of is, okay, let's say there is, a homeless man on the street and he has this vision of, I want to live in a mansion, big multi-million-dollar mansion. Cool. How realistic does it look like it would be for him to jump straight to the mansion and get to sustain that long term? Pretty unrealistic, yeah? But is it more realistic? Okay, if that's your destination and this is where you are, now we can create an actual path. So maybe we need to start with teaching you how to build skills and get jobs. And maybe it's a lower paying job, but then you get enough for a basic starter apartment, nothing great, nothing fancy. And then maybe after a year getting more skills and everything, now you can get a better apartment. And maybe there's a few versions of the apartment till finally I can get a starter home and a townhome. And then I can live there a few years and then I can learn more and then I can build up from there. And eventually, maybe fast forward 10 years, and he is now in a place to be the person capable of getting that mansion and sustaining it because it's a part of his personality now. That was kind of the analogy that I was bringing up for Aaron of like, okay, this is good. Let's say like everybody's dream is to have millions of monthly listeners, millions of streams, everything working. But if right now that seems impossible, that's your body telling you, we probably need to break that thing down into baby steps and things that feel like you can accomplish them. Maybe you could speak into this, Leslie, because I know we had a great conversation around this.
Oh, I would love to, because this is one of my favorite topics around this particular success mindsets and things like that. So our brain, we are created to reflect what is inside of us. So I love to talk about the eyes. When we talk about our eyes, what we see outside of us is literally comes in through the cones of our eyes, goes to the back of our brain for processing, and then reflects back out to tell us what we're seeing. So we're never seeing raw data when we're looking in our outside world.
It's filtered.
It is filtered. It is filtered through our brains and what I call the mirror within. So the mirror within is our soul. We are given a soul when we're born. And what happens is we hit this earth and we start experiencing trauma. Whether it's small or big, it doesn't really matter. It impacts our soul. So anytime we come into an agreement with something outside of God that is a lie, it fractures the mirror and it shifts our perception. And so we are always looking out of shifted perceptions that are a little distorted from the truth that we were created with. And so I love to look at it from the eyes, because we really are looking through what's going on in our soul and the perceptions that we have through the lenses of our trauma, through the lenses of our experiences, from our successes, our failures. All of those things make up what's going on in our mind, and it filters through that place. So what we see in the outside world is brought in through the eyes, filtered through our lenses, and told to our brain when we see. So it really it's like, that's just a scientific thing too. It's not just a spiritual thing. It's both. And so when you think of that, you realize that you are not seeing everything. Our subconscious mind is already filtering out so many things because we're scanning for what we believe is true. And as we go through life, we have evidence of what we believe is true. It may not be true for somebody else. They may not have had that same process. They're not having those same filters. They have something completely different. So that's not true for them. And they'll go, man, that's not true. This is true. Well, for each of you, it is true, because that's what your brain has taken. And they filtered something that you didn't, and you filtered something that they didn't. And you've both gotten pieces of truth. And in scripture, it says we know in part and we see in part. This is one of the main reasons why. We need each other, because we have people that can see things that we can't, and then we can come together. The other thing is this concept of the gap and the gain by Dr. Benjamin Hardy, and I have it right here, but somewhere. Anyway, it's this concept about when we're making our goals, here's the big goal. There's a gap between what we experience and what we're scanning for neurologically to what we want, the goal that we want to see, the outcome we want, the mansion, the million streams, whatever it is. But our brain is currently scanning for what we believe is true. And so what we have to do is start with shifting our filters. And that starts with getting truth. So, and that starts with looking within. It starts with healing. And you have to be willing to look at the things in your life that are showing results that you don't want. If you don't want this result, and you can follow the bunny trail, talk to the Lord about it, and ask, what is the truth here? And then you can trade your perception for his and start gaining a level of truth that you didn't have before. And slowly, and sometimes quickly, you can start retraining those pathways of the brain and start scanning for evidences of truth. And this is where we started talking about affirmations, is if you just have this list of affirmations that says, I am this and I am this, but it does not resonate with you at all, it's not going to do anything for you. It's not going to make that come about. Power of life and death isn't the power of the tongue, but and out of the heart, the mouth speaks. So what's going on in the heart is what is going to resonate as truth coming out of the mouth. Okay. And that is where the power of life and death is. So we have to retrain our thoughts, and we have to have healing in our hearts. And so then we start scanning for evidences of progress. So what I suggest doing is the gain. And it's what it is looking backwards and finding the evidences of success and evidences of truth, or things that you want to see in your life. And journaling is great with this. You can just start with, before you go to bed, what are 3 things I'm grateful for today that got me towards where I want to be? And you're writing it down, you're acknowledging it, you're looking at it, where your brain would have filtered it out before. Mm-hmm. Because if you're feeling like you're not making progress here, your brain is going to bring evidence of lack of progress. But if you're searching for the progress, you're going to start to see it. And that is where you have to start. And then you start building from that so that you can move from whatever's going on back here and bring it forward into and close that gap.
Yeah.
Is that making sense so far?
Yeah,
some bars right there, dude.
I like what the concept of the mirror within, and like all of these different external things that have happened to you can fracture that mirror and crack, distort what you see about the world. I think there's another very particular fracture for artists, and a lot of that happens in the sensationalism of the overnight success. We have The Voice, and we have American Idol, mm-hmm. and we have one video pops off on TikTok. It forces us to believe that the people that are successful and famous are the ones that just blow up overnight by one video, or somebody mm-hmm. that got noticed by somebody else who's higher up in the music industry, food chain. It's this lie that we believe that if it doesn't happen within a video or a month or 6 months or a year or 5 years or longer, that we're not successful. It has to happen quickly. And I was talking to Jason earlier today about I can remember every obstacle and every win also of the last 10 years that we've been doing music. And it was never overnight. We might be sitting here with a podcast and we were able to purchase, like we have to like be the point of like being grateful and like taking a look at the past wins, like the fact that we were able to just get a podcast set up because we wanted to, like we would have never like dreamed that when we first started this, even 5 years ago.
The cost was that of an album for like producing a full album. Yeah.
And the thing is like, there are days that we will sit here and we still feel like we didn't accomplish anything. Like we all like we have those days, but we have to keep looking back at the past wins, and we still feel like we're on a trajectory. There's never been a point where we felt like the success went like this.
Except for when the first album popped off, where the streams literally did that.
And the thing is, what you said about that, that's good too, because even if you do have a viral moment, there is a downside somewhere, and you're going to have to deal with that in your gut, with the downside of when the thing stops performing as well as it has been for a year, and you have who are you now?
Bingo.
Like who are you now after
Yeah.
you've had maybe some success in an area? How has that changed you? Are you going to keep pushing forward, or are you going to ride on what happened in the past?
Right.
So that's kind of our experience.
As Dr. Joe Dispenza says, one of my favorite guys to study, your personality creates your personal reality. So it's interesting because you're like, let's say you get that moment of success, guys. Something pops off, and you think it's going to last forever, but maybe it lasts a month. Well, are you still the same person? Like, who are you now, with or without that thing, right? Can you be the version of you? I guess think about it like this, guys. If we're thinking our end goal is as a music career, can you be that person now? Can you find a way to view the world and think of yourself and treat yourself like that person now? Because if you can, you're going to start acting like it. You're naturally going to start to like lead yourself there. One thing that I wanted to quick ask everybody is this, because I love this idea, Leslie, of the external mirroring the internal. How many of you guys are fully satisfied with your lives right now? With, let's say, just musically, with your careers and everything? Or are you seeing external things that are popping up that you're not satisfied with? How many of you are seeing those things pop up right now? Anybody? You can raise your hands. You can leave a comment. Yeah. Okay, lots of hands. The typical reaction from a human is we almost just like don't want to look at it because it's painful and it hurts. But in reality, that thing is actually showing us, it's helping us. It's the resistance. It's showing us where we need to be showing up differently and becoming that next version of ourselves. But typically the habit is, I don't want to, that hurts. I don't feel good. My ego hurts. I'm going to ignore it. So maybe we could speak into what a good next step would be for those on this call, these artists watching this. Maybe, okay, so now they have this exercise, right, of slowly starting to figure out what isn't working in your life. Maybe what are the next steps after you start to identify that stuff?
Yeah. So I would start actually right next. I would start with keeping a gratitude journal if you haven't started doing that. So start your day and end your day with gratitude. So at the end of the day, write down your 3 wins. In the beginning of the day, review your 3 wins and then set an intention. And so that can help you start to bridge that gap between where you are and where you want to be, while keeping your focus on looking for the things that are working and staying in an attitude of gratitude, so to speak.
What would an intention look like for them?
So an intention could be, what is the one thing that I need to do today? You can't tackle everything, but what is the one thing that you want? So, and this comes from your personal goals, first, okay, let's go back up a minute. And we talked about this a little bit. I think, Joey, you were talking about this and about defining success for ourselves. And we get to choose what success is to us. And you need to define success in different areas of your life. It doesn't have to just be, I hit 1 million streams, I'm successful. Can you be successful today? What is it today that makes you feel successful today? Today, I pitched 2 partners for my business. Okay, I'm successful today because I did the process I set forth to do. So you need to know what those processes you want to do are, and you need to set your intentions based on what you want your outcome to be. and the processes that you're putting in place so that you are successful today. Some days success looks like my house is clean. Some days success looks like I got my kids to bed on time, everybody's fed, everybody's okay. We're good. We're good. This is a successful day. Because when you have little kids at home like I do, it can be a meltdown a minute. And it can make you feel very unsuccessful as a parent. So I had to say, what? My kids are healthy. They've eaten dinner. But at the end of the day, of course, they've eaten throughout the day. They're in bed on time, so they're getting their rest. I am successful today. I didn't lose my temper today. I'm successful. So what is it for you that is success for you? And define that in the as holistically and in the little areas of your life, because like we were just saying, where we want to be who we are everywhere we show up. That's alignment, that's authenticity. That's showing up vulnerable. We have bad days, we have good days. It's okay with all we're okay with all of it. Bring who you are in that moment and be you. The best you can be. And only you can get to define that. Nobody else can define for you what the best you is. Because success from the world's standards will quickly tell you that you're a failure if you didn't do these things. Like, I didn't hit 1,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel in 2 months. I'm not successful. I'm sorry. You know what? One person saw my one of the songs that we wrote that came out of a hard season of my life, and I poured my heart out into that song, and I got together the people to write that song with me. We wrote it, we produced it, we got it out there. That's hard. We did that. And if nobody ever hears it, one, we're successful because we wrote the song. Two, somebody emailed me after hearing the song and said, I didn't know I could have healing like that. I didn't know that God worked like that. And to hear your story through your song touched me in ways I didn't know I could be touched anymore. Thank you. One person. Does it matter if I got 1 million strings on that one song? Or does it matter that that one song changed a life? So what is success to you? What does intention look like for you? And I can't define that for you. You have to define that for yourself.
Whew. I think that one hit.
Golden nuggets.
I think that one resonated. It seems like this is kind of organically flowing into the topic of authenticity now.
Mm-hmm.
I know you wanted to circle back to that. It might be a good time for that.
Yeah, I think it might come down to what Jacob was saying about, especially for Christian artists who are supposed to be like positive and like encouraging all the time. How do you capture that and reach your audience? Because in a world of chaos and depression and all of that stuff, it seems like people need somebody that's real, but we're out here focusing on like just the music part of it, which is great because you can obviously help people with your music, but what would you advise Christian artists? How would they go deeper on their brand and have a deeper connection with their audience past their music?
Yeah. So one of my favorite things that we've done with our music, and we don't have a ton of music out there, but what we do have is raw and real, you know? So one of my favorite things to do with that is tell the story behind the music. Tell the story of where the song came from. What did God do to help that song be birthed? And so it's also remembering who you're aligned with, because we do live in a chaotic world and we're never going to be on all the time. And we do have to do our job. We do have to step into the light. If we're artists, we're going to step up on a stage and we're going to do the thing. So I think the biggest thing here is to know who your source is. Where do you get it from? Because alignment comes from obedience. Obedience accesses authority. So To be in alignment means that we are in obedience. It doesn't mean that we're high on life all the time. But what it does mean is that we know who our source is and we know where to look to get it. And so leading worship for a church, for example, can be really difficult because you're expected to show up several days a week sometimes and bring others into the presence of God. So you have to cultivate that within you in order to be able to do that. So you can get up there and not be feeling it and you can fake it, but people are going to feel it. Something's not going to feel quite right. But the one who put that in you lives in you. And so you can stop, reset, and you can dig deep and you can say, what is true, Lord? What is true? Right now, what is true? All this chaos, all this noise, but what is true? And what is true is he is good. And what is true is he deserves to be praised, whether or not we feel it. And what is true is we need to look at the one who is the truth and who is the steady rock and turn what's going on in us upward. In and up is what I say, because he lives in us and we raise our hands up. And that's for anyone with faith. And if you don't have that faith, you still need to know where you're going to get where's your source. Right? You still need to have that alignment within you, whatever is true for you. And for me, it's Jesus. And I know that he tore the veil. And so I get access to what is true, regardless of what storms are going on in my life. Jesus was sleeping on the boat when the storms were raging because he knew where his anchor was. And that is the main thing, because there is always going to be something. And you have the permission to say, it's been a morning, hasn't it, guys? We've had quite the day. But you know what? Regardless of what happened before you stepped into this room, God is good. And so we're going to lay that down at the altar. We're going to lay all of this. We're going to take all this pain that we're feeling right now. And we're just going to lay it down. Can you do it with me? Can you do that with me? Because I'm going to lay my pain down. Will you lay yours down? And be the example to know I have pain too. I'm just going to lay it down. And I'm going to let him fill me up. And we're going to go deep. So, because we are fountains, not funnels. And what that means is when we go through hard things, we dig deeper. Fountains have water flowing in the dry lands because it comes up from within and radiates outwards, and it affects everyone around you. A funnel is just receiving and receiving and receiving and never doing anything with it, receiving and never doing anything with it. We want to be fountains, radiating what was put in us to dig deep, even when it feels like we can't. And I hope that answered the question. I can go deeper with it if you want to.
Yeah. One thing I'd like to add too, maybe for the people who are struggling to find the audience or think about the audience, try to think about you're in the people business, not necessarily the music business, because you need to be thinking about more about the people who are behind the streams and behind the view counts, because those are the people that want to connect with you. They want to hear more from you and your story, because your story is what is actually connecting with the people. And obviously your story, it will come out in your music, hopefully. But instead of just trying to write for Becky, who's on the radio, so you can get radio streams and radio listens, is Becky actually your audience?
Right.
Like, is that the person that would resonate most with your story? Or are there other people out there that you need to be thinking of and gearing your attention, whether it be through your content or through your music, towards? Because those are the people that you're trying to reach.
Yeah, we say stopping for the one. You know, Jesus stopped for the one, regardless of what everybody else wanted him to do. If he came across someone who needed help right then, he stopped. He helped that one. And yes, he did Sermons on the Mount, but it was his daily walk. It was who he touched deeply in the moment that drove the crowds. The crowds came because he stopped for the one. They didn't come because he stood before the crowd and told them what to do. So that's really important. It's really important. And it's also important to be vulnerable enough to share your story, to share the parts of your story you feel led to share. And someone told me the other day, it made perfect sense, that we share what is personal, but we don't share what is private. So you are not expected to share your private life, and you get to define what that is, but share what is personal, because personal makes connections, and connection is what builds trust. And the trust is the main thing. Trust, and you go deep with that connection, but you can only do that with one person at a time. Truly.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to know what I think one of the difficult things to balance as an artist is that mindset of really remembering the whole point of what you're doing, but then also being able to balance that with the business mindset that we teach on a lot of, yes, also on top of that, we need to be thinking, yes, about marketing, and yes, about success, especially as independent artists. If you don't have a team around you, you are the marketing team. You are the funding team. You are the production team. And I think a reason that this music journey wears a lot of artists out is because we get life from what you're talking about, Leslie, that connection, that purpose, the reason we started this thing. But then we realize we have to do all the other stuff that isn't necessarily life-giving, the admin work, the responding to emails, the businesses, dealing with annoying people, haters in the comments, all this stuff. And pretty soon the life is sucked out of you, and you kind of just don't feel like doing it anymore. So maybe the real challenge here is to strike a balance between the two.
Yeah, this is something that we were talking about, Jason and I, a couple of weeks ago, about, because we were talking about when you were starting the internal foundations course, about it's kind of like if you were to think of a wheel or a tire, there's two sides to it. One side is the doing, like you just have to do the work, and then you'll believe it over time. You'll believe in yourself more after you get more reps. And then the other side, you need the inspiration. You need to just believe it from within, which forces you to do the work. And then that reinforces. So it's like your belief in yourself and the work kind of go hand in hand. But sometimes, and it happens a lot of the time with new challenges, new skills, new whatever, you might start at a different side. So sometimes you might just need to just do the work and post 100 videos, and you'll feel something more within yourself. Oh, I know how to edit better. I have better ideas now. Like I see this happening. Like I believe that I can do this now, which reinforces your belief in yourself, which forces you to do more action. And sometimes you have to start at the other side.
But it'll be terrifying. That's the thing. So it's like, it's not going to feel good. The whole point of what Joey's saying is the more you do it though, and the more repetition you put in, the more you start to believe you are that person, right? So your personality starts to reflect that action that you're taking. So it's almost like there's two ends of it. It's like you can technically start on both sides of the wheel, and sometimes different parts of life and your career require you to pick a different spot, because you guys might be realizing, I'm never going to feel fully safe and comfortable right now posting on social media once a day, super authentically and with vulnerability. Okay, so that means I probably just need to go take the action, even though it's going to feel really awful. But can I do it long enough where now my beliefs and my personality start to mirror that thing, and I start to get that internal change from the external action?
Yeah, so good, because it's like what the saying is, eat the frog. do the thing first, the thing
Eat
that
the
you're most
frog.
afraid of.
Tell me
Yeah,
more
I
about
feel like
this.
I've
It's
heard
like-
of this. You just got to eat the frog.
I've
Yeah,
heard
just
about
gotta eat the
boiling
frog.
the frog, but I don't
I've
know
heard of
about eating the frog.
Yeah, it's like
You eat it
maybe
after you boil it.
yeah.
They go together.
well, the hard thing, the thing that's staring you in the face, the elephant in the room, whatever it is, do it first and do it quickly. Get it over with. Take the medicine. Eat the frog.
Eat
The other way is
frog.
like the other way you could say it is like, how do you eat a whole elephant? Well,
Yeah.
there's an elephant in the room. How do you eat it? One bite at a time.
Yep.
You can't eat it all at once. You have to eat it. That's how we tackle big projects. And what you're saying is so good because it really is like you can't grow your muscles without working out your muscles, and you can't, no pain, no gain, right? Embrace it. Embrace the resistance, because there's a book called War of Art. Have you heard of that?
I have
I've
heard
heard
of
of-
it. I haven't read it.
Heard of it.
Yes. So this book, War of Art, it's not what I'm saying, but it is really good. It's what started the conversation. He said, go to war against resistance. That resistance is the enemy and it will stare you in the face. And so you must tackle it. It's a demon. Get it. And I was like, is it though? It could be. It could be our enemy. Or it could be the thing that pushes me to get the result I want. And so it's a book worth reading. It's also worth having a conversation with the Lord about what you get from the book, because just like anything you read, take what you want, spit out the bones. And so I've shifted what I learned from that book into what I feel like the Lord said to me through it, which was, if you don't have resistance, you won't grow. So put yourself in positions to grow. When it was time for me to build my website, I've been building my own website since, since I paid too much for a website and I couldn't edit it myself. And I was really upset about it. And so I was like, I'm just not going to pay for somebody else to do it again. I'm just going to do it myself. So I learned it. And last year, I switched platforms to something that I switched from, I don't know what it was, required a lot more of me. And it was a new thing. And as I looked at it, I was so upset. I was like, I don't know if I can learn this. I've already learned this other platform. Maybe I just need to go back to it. And then I slept on it. I pushed through a little bit and then I slept. And then I came back to it. And guess what? It clicked. Because you push through the resistance, you give yourself some time to rest and reset, and then you do it again.
That was every single skill that it
Guys.
took to build this company. The amount of times that we were this close to just giving up and just not
Y'all have no idea.
not finishing the skill, or like, for example, website was like one of the things. Like the amount
Learning
of time,
Photoshop,
but the thing is,
Adobe.
like, the more obstacles you
Editing.
overcome, editing, figuring out how to do a podcast, like the more obstacles that you overcome, like the more willing you are to dive into the next thing, because you're like, okay, I've done it 5 other times with these 5 other things.
I know I can do it.
I know
we
I can
do this.
do it. And it's like, I think the term is called frustration tolerance. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's like, how long can you sit with the thing until eventually it just clicks? And it might take days or weeks. You might have to sleep on it many times. But how long can you stare the frog in the face and try
I don't think that's
to eat the thing?
Okay.
How many attempts? You might have to attempt to eat the frog 10 times, but you're attempting.
Yes.
I have a quote that I was going to bring up later, but it's, success is your ability to go from failure to failure without giving up. Really think about that, guys, because success, we're always thinking of this end destination. Oh, I need that thing so that I can feel that feeling of success. And by the way, guys, something we get into that internal foundation course is just the fact that emotions are just the end result of an experience. The only reason you really want something in life, this experience, is because you want the emotional payoff. Really sit with that for a second. You want the new car. Why? Sure, it's going to be fun to drive and everything, but it gives you a feeling of something. that you're now allowing yourself to feel that you weren't allowing yourself to feel when you had the older car. Not as cool. Okay? Same thing goes with music success. Why do you want 1 million streams on a song, for example? What are you going to feel? What are you going to give yourself permission to feel then about yourself, as opposed to, why can't you just give yourself permission to feel that right now?
Yes.
And then when you start to give yourself permission to feel that, you become the person that inevitably can get you to the other thing, because you don't even care about it anymore. You remove a lot of those like procrastinations and the really big resistances, and finally can start moving through that stuff.
That's good.
There were other ways I was going to take that, but that's where we ended up.
But yeah, just to reiterate that, like if you feel miserable right now at 1,000 streams on a song, you're going to take that and apply that same feeling. You're going to feel that same way at 1 million streams.
Yeah.
When we hit 1 million streams on a song, it was great for like 5 seconds. And we went back to feeling the way that we've always felt. And then eventually you kind of become numb to everything. And like your brain adjusts to the new normal. And then anything less than that is like even worse of a feeling. Like anything less than...
Yeah, because you're still going to have that, oh, it didn't do the result. You're like still feeling the same feelings you felt back when you were just getting started. You're like, have I changed at all? Like this, I'm still feeling the same way. But one thing that I wanted to add to was, guys, the only reason that Joey and I have been able to like get to where we are with the career, and not even say we've quote made it, but we've done a lot and have had really cool results. It's because I think our cheat code, dude, is that we just are unwilling to give up when things get difficult. And we've just seen it too many times, or if we push a little bit further, the breakthrough happens. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer than what we wanted and we expected, but we just decide that we're not going to stop, and then the breakthrough happens. For example, guys, the Meta Ads course, how many of you are going through this right now? I don't know if you've looked at this yet, Leslie, but we have a course in this classroom where we teach everybody how to run Meta Ads to grow their own playlists on Spotify, so that you can
start it next week.
Yeah,
I'm ready. I'm ready.
So you can own your own playlist network, right? Instead of having to pitch to other people and rely on other people, it's like build something that you own. Well, that course, guys, that didn't exist like it does in our classroom section in school. It didn't exist like that for us. And dude, I don't even know how many hours we spent trying to piece every random course together and every random video and try different things and waste so much money. If we would have stopped, think about this. I don't know if you ever thought about this. This just hit me now. If we would have stopped the Meta Ads course, think of the chain reactions that wouldn't have been set in motion.
Exactly.
Because if that didn't hit, this album doesn't pop off.
You're saying our skill of knowing,
Meta Ads.
Knowing how to run Meta Ads.
It started with something so basic, and you could say, oh, this is just a simple skill. Like, it's not, my career isn't dependent on it. Maybe it's not, but maybe it's the thing, the first domino that is set up, that is meant to launch everything for you. But because you can't show up and conquer that thing, the other dominoes never get knocked over. And for us, it was because we got really good at those things, and then a project took off, and then artists reached out to us wanting marketing help, so we became a marketing agency, and then we realized we should be doing label stuff and creating project with artists, and then we do that long enough, and pretty soon we're like, wow, there's an education problem. Like, nobody's talking about what actually works. Then we come to the Anthem Network. It's like, here we are today, all the way back to that first domino, and it was COVID. 2020, we're working both of us are working multiple jobs, trying to launch the thing. Everybody thinks we're crazy. We have no vision for the thing. We're doing all of this stuff. We're putting all of our money, investing all of our money into courses that aren't working. But that was the thing. That was the thing that like set everything up. And we had to become different versions of ourselves in the process.
And if we think about just the ads, when we were learning that, we had a miniature version of the Anthem Network, which was a party of two, because when I would give up on Meta Ads for a day,
that's me and Joey, by the way, everybody.
like when we were both trying to figure out Meta Ads. When I quit for one day, you worked on it for a day, and then when you quit that day,
Bro.
I picked up on it, and then we just put
then
the pieces together.
Some days
And
we
that's-
would complain together.
and some days we'd quit,
Yeah.
and then come back the next day. And that's kind of the point of what we're doing with this Anthem Network is we want to help with the frustration tolerance. There's people trying to figure out this stuff together at the same time, and I know we haven't done any challenges let's post for 30 days or whatever. We never did any official challenge, but I just know that by people being in the group at the same time, I would assume, and I've seen that you guys have gotten more output in what you're already doing. And I think it's just the osmosis of having kind of a collective of people.
Good word. Osmosis.
Yeah,
Osmosis.
that shows so important having a support system
Huge.
in place. Yeah, because you really can't do it alone and do it in a healthy way. Putting people
it's
in
difficult.
It is. And so putting people in place that that are going to encourage you as you are on your journey, and be that, even Moses needed Aaron and to hold his arms up at the war.
Mm.
Even Jesus had the ladies of mercy at the cross. We are meant to do this together. And so Kingdom is doing it together. So get that support system. That's so important.
And you guys might realize too, it might be, this is in the course, was working on it last night, this realization that, do you have a tendency to give up on yourself more than you would give up on somebody else? Right? Do you have a tendency to be a little more negative or mean to yourself internally with your self-talk than you would to somebody else? And that's where, man, I'm not going to give up on what we're doing at the Anthem Co. and everything, no matter how I feel, no matter what the environment is telling us. Oh, maybe it's not mirroring back what we want it to yet. I'm not going to give up though, because I know that guy right there is not going to give up. Yeah, I'm not going to be the one, I'm going to be the one out of the two of us that derails this thing.
Chicken out. Don't chicken out.
Yeah. So it's just something to think about, guys. When you really build a core team, a group of people, community, or really a family around you, knowing that everybody else around me isn't giving up. Oh, I know they're not going to stop. It keeps you going just a little bit more. And to maybe tie a bow on what you started with, Leslie, talking about the limbic brain, emotionally reactive, right? That you kind of feel out of control. When you guys sense that, you probably aren't in a brainwave state to tackle the thing well. So we take a break. You take a day off and you come back in that next state of mind. And now you're thinking a little more optimistically, a little bit more clearly. And whoa, wait, I thought this was going to be harder. I found the solution. The amount of times we've had to do that with meta ads specifically, guys, it's stupid. Even building that course, we ran into stuff again where we're like, this is why nobody made this course like this. This sucks. It's even now we have to recognize, okay, what brainwave state am I operating in right now? Okay, now that I'm aware of this, I can recognize this isn't me. This is just a state right now. I'm going to chill and I'm going to come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and give yourself permission to chill a little bit, right? We can get so driven. I know that's an issue for me. As I get so driven, I'm like, no, I'm not stopping until I tackle this thing. But that just it backfires, right? So I think there was one day where I was just so done. I was like, I don't know what to do next, and I was like, I'm just gonna take a nap.
Yeah.
And I laid down with my 3-year-old, and we took a nap together. And I had a dream, and the dream gave me the solution to what I was working on before. And so sometimes we won't get the answer until we rest.
That's good. Leslie Davis King Jr. She had a dream.
I had a dream. Yeah. I still do. I have another dream.
That's so good. Guys, how is this resonating for all of you? I see a lot of notebooks and pencils and writing happening. So I'm assuming this means some of this stuff is relevant and making sense for you all. Maybe let's quick open it up for a couple minutes to see if you guys have any thoughts on this.
Looks like we have a chat.
there's about a million things in here. Yeah, jump in, Jarrell, if you want to mention something.
Yeah, I was waiting for my cue, so I didn't want to jump in too early. So you guys
No,
just
appreciate that, dude.
touch on no problem, no problem. You guys just touch on something I think which is like my biggest issue, right? Like I recognize the fight, right? I recognize the back and forth even with myself and so on and so forth. But then I also know, okay, and I don't know if it's an age thing, and I don't know, maybe it is an age thing, maybe it's an experience thing, right? I'm a person that seem to be very determined when it comes down to certain things, and especially if it's something that I'm passionate about and something that I really want to go like move forth in. Um, but one of the things that I also realize is that a lot of people don't have that same drive and that same passion that I have at times, right? Because I try to be careful who I put myself around just because of disappointments and maybe like one of the things that you guys mentioned in the course, right, is that hey, if you say something to someone, let's just stick to that word, right? And I'm not gonna lie, I'm human, and at the same time too, if someone says something to me and say, "Oh yeah, let's do this," I'm like, "Okay, cool, let's go." Boom, 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 boom. So in regards to like resistance, sometimes I I feel like my idea of resistance, right, is having to work with people who are not as committed as I am. You see what I'm saying? And it's not a rush process. It's not a oh I'm better than you or you better than me mindset or anything like that. But I was raised a certain type of way where if we want to go biblical with it, let my yes be yes and my no's be no's. Let's go and let's push, let's work, let yada yada yada, so on and so forth. And I do believe like in the process you find what works, what doesn't work, and you keep it pushing and so on and so on. No hard feelings, no one gets hurt, yada yada yada, so on and so on. But I I'm just a big commitment, like a big commitment guy, and I feel like that's the resistance that I deal with when people are just not in the same mindset. You know, I can go into a studio and I go into the studio and the producer is like, "Oh yeah, man, we'll meet up 3 days down the road and this and that and so on and so on." I'm like, 3 days down the road, I'm like, okay, cool. That 3 days come, I set my time up and I'm like, okay, cool, we're gonna get this thing going and yada. And then the producer cancels on me and I'm just like, what? Man, I just wasted my time and I'm like, and then that's when I start getting like in that Jarrell feeling, man, I ain't got time for all this, man. Let me let me do my own thing and just stay focused. You see what I'm saying? So
Yep.
so if you guys get what I'm saying, you know what I mean?
I mean, we've lived that.
Have you experienced that before?
Oh my
Joey?
gosh.
We-
Yeah.
what? Shocker.
It's a creative the curse of the creative space for sure.
You
Yeah,
know,
and so, I apologize.
no, jump in,
But
dude.
sometimes when I look at my age, right, I'm like, man, I'm getting old, man. I know I was listening to some from Judge Judy out of everybody, but she said something about a lady who drew a painting. She was like 80 years old, and then this person was 40 years old chasing this person was 50 years old and they were able to, but I'm like, man, listen, man, there's certain things I can't do at 80, there's certain things I can't do at 50, you know what I mean? So while I still somewhat have some of that youth in me, so to speak, I need to take that opportunity to just like, keep pushing, and yeah, see what the end result is.
Yeah.
I would like to speak into this a little bit. Can I?
Well, it just so happens you are the focus of this call, Leslie.
We have a
Come on in.
So here's what I see with this is one, to kind of take a step back and look internally and what is it that you're wanting to do, and can you do it without striving? Because a lot of times when we get into that place, that's where the striving comes forth and we get burnout. And it's also a place that we start to want to control what's going on around us. And so I felt like the Lord said to share with you the circle of control, because I really feel like this helps when we are dealing with things and people that are not necessarily either aligned with our thinking, aligned with our way of being, or aligned with us at all. And we need to know those things. And so we have if you look at a small circle in the middle and then a larger circle on the outside, everything on the inside of the circle is everything that you can control. So that is your actions and your reactions. That's the only thing that you actually can control. Everything else, everyone else is outside of your circle of control. And so on the inside, when you think about what is my action and then how am I going to react? Sometimes it takes a step back and taking a deep breath and realizing that everything else, you just let them do them. You let it go, knowing that you cannot control those things outside of your control. And anger always comes from a place of unmet expectations. And when we are angry with someone or something, it's because our expectations have not been met. When we feel anxiety, a lot of it is from unmet expectations. We can control our expectations. So you can take a step back and say, what are my expectations here? And can I adjust? And do I need to hire someone else? Because this is not going to serve me. This is the place where you can start to set your boundaries and know who you will and will not work with and why. Not out of a place of, I can't control you, so I'm not going to work with you. But if someone is canceling on you all the time or they're not in alignment with you, you can have a boundary there. And you can let them do them, but you can also move on and take a breath and adjust your actions and your reactions, because those are really the only two things you can control. And we can really help. It'll really help with us, especially if we have moments where we feel so angry. You can adjust it. Why am I angry? What expectations were not met?
Oof. Oh, there's some bars right there.
Yeah, that's some good stuff.
And one thing that made me think of is, guys, life often doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you tolerate.
Mhm.
And usually that comes back to self-worth, self-respect, worthiness. Joey and I are starting to get better at this. And we actually just recognized that in the last couple of weeks, because we're always having conversations with lots of artists and prepping for projects and stuff. And
text threads, lots of email threads, just random.
A million things. And we've learned that we've made enough mistakes now that now we have learned that we get what we tolerate, and that it's okay to set boundaries and to not always just take whatever is available, whoever is available, whatever the opportunity is available. That doesn't always mean it is in alignment. Sometimes it's easy to take that thing out of fear. Oh, someone's giving me an opportunity. I'm going to take it because I'm in a lack mindset, because I don't think I'm going to get another one of those. Even though you know it's not the right fit, and it kind of sucks the energy out of you and sucks the life out of you, you tolerated it. And because of that, you got it. And there's a tendency you'll get more of it because of that.
Yeah. So when I start working with someone, in my program, I have 7 steps that I take the people through. And the first step is getting clear on your core values and your priorities. This is exactly where we start, because we can't get in alignment if we don't know where we are. And we also talk about the circle of control in this area. So knowing what your core values are and working through the things to be able to find what really matters to you and those core values, that's the thing that helps you to inform your decisions and create your boundaries. So if you know that authenticity is a core value for you, that's why you get so upset when someone is being quote unquote fake. If a core value for you is fun, but you're all work and no play makes Johnny a dull boy over here because you're not having any fun, it's because you're not meeting a core need for you, which is fun. If my core values is connection, one of them. I usually tell people to find the 3 to 5 core values that drive you the most. And those things are going to be what you evaluate your decisions by. If it doesn't align with your core values, you have permission to say no. And if you say yes to something that's out of alignment with your core values, 9 times out of 10, you will end up frustrated with unmet expectations, and you will be out of alignment because you're not in alignment with your core values. But you have to do the work on the front end to even know what your core values are so that you can use those to adjust and know what decisions you want to make. Where are your boundaries? And so that is part of understanding I can control my actions, my reactions, but it's up to me to make sure I know what I need so that I'm not always just flying by the seat of my pants and reacting to everything.
Yeah. And Jarrell, I can give you a specific story about this. You can apply this or not, but for us, our boundary as a company, as a record label, initially that boundary was razor thin on who we would work with for a lot of the reasons that you're describing. Mm-hmm. For example, as a record label, projects that we would pay for, artists we would collaborate with, and actually their brands would show up on our pages. Our boundary was razor thin. And even when we would go get lunches or go to coffees with like industry people who are maybe not an artist collaboration, but the conversations that go really well at lunches or coffees, and you think something's going to come out of that because that's what everybody said, and then you send a follow-up email and you never hear from them again, or a follow-up text. And our boundaries were razor thin at the beginning. Now, our boundaries keep getting thicker and thicker, but it's not because that it's not that we're traumatized. We have a system in place for that. So on the outside of the boundary, we have very low expectations for people. And that's not looking down on them. It's just, we don't really expect anything at all. Anything to come out of, we just had a great coffee or a great lunch. We got to hang with a person. And if something comes out of it down the road 3 years from now, great. Very low expectations. But what we have in place further, once they make it through that boundary and they've made it through our process of what our values are, we have extremely high expectations for that. And that is really just because we know that individual, that opportunity, that collaboration, we are all on the same page and we're ready to rock. And as we become more successful and familiar with who we are and what we've achieved, the higher the expectations go, and the opportunities with people at the same level, the same skill set, those are the people that we're looking for. So I hope that gives you some constructive advice. But.
Yeah, Jarrell, it sounds like that might be something that you could prioritize this week, is getting really clear on what those 3 to 5 core values are that you want to see reflected back in the people that you work with. Because I'm willing to bet if you start choosing people to work with based off of that, you'll run into less of these expectations not being met and this frustration of, oh, they keep delaying. Well, maybe they're not the person, in the first place.
That's good. I take all that in. Yeah, that's some good stuff right there. That's enough said.
Yeah, and you can also release that. You can release the people pleasing a little bit easier when you know what your core values are. When you know what you stand for, you won't put up with the things that you don't. And it doesn't have to be rude. That's what I say. Radiate your authority without being a jerk. You don't have to be a jerk about it. This is not in alignment with who I am. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to move on. Or thank you for your time. I'm going to move on now to find something that's more in alignment with where I'm going. You don't even have to apologize.
Yep.
I mean, one of our first values, like I'll just tell you, like with this Anthem network,
No guitar players.
no guitar players.
That's the
only
first
I can
value.
be the only guitar player in this group. No. One of the first things that we look out for is, does this person do what they say they're going to do, and do they show up? That's like number one. And if we don't see that, we're probably not going to collaborate at some point, because we don't know, the relationship hasn't been established quite yet.
Yeah.
One thing that we are using, you know, and to be transparent, like one thing that we really use actively, guys, to figure out who our people are now is the Anthem Network. And like, we look and see who's on the calls, who's participating, who's putting in work, who's working on themselves. You guys don't realize it, but it's like a very long-term interview.
It's a very tangible boundary that we have, but it's constructive.
But you don't.
This is the most, I guess, the most relationships we can have, like openly with people
At once.
at one time, to get a vibe.
Yep.
We've never had that
It's
before.
like a very, very long-term interview process where none of us necessarily know what's going to come out of it. None of us are necessarily even looking or expecting anything to come out of it. But the longer we start to see, oh wow, I think they hold the same values as we do. Look at the work they're putting in and how they're showing up, and they're like, oh, and now we're thinking in our head, I bet there's going to be a future opportunity for them somewhere. And like that's just kind of how this stuff works. And the more authentically, guys, you start showing up as yourself in alignment with those values, the more natural and just easier it is to start to find your people.
Yes.
You just start to magnetize them. They start to likes to be around right? Game recognizes game, as they say. As you start showing up more authentically as yourself, more people who also want to be doing that in their life are going to be attracted to you. And, you know, this is how you kind of build a community and build something around yourself.
That's so good. I want to springboard on that.
Yes.
Because we are a culmination of the top 5 people we hang around.
Yes. Yes, we are.
There is merit to this. So if you're constantly surrounded by people that you don't want to be like, and that's not in alignment with your core values, then you probably should start shifting. And if you want to be, one of the things is like in business, I'm seeing my mindsets and my life shifting before my eyes by surrounding myself with people who are where I want to be. Some of those people, I pay for their time. I hire coaches. And as a coach, if I'm not willing to invest in coaching, then I can't really expect, I mean, I guess I could, but I don't really expect people to invest in my coaching, because coaches need to be growing. Coaches need to be coached.
Yep.
People who are doing the music business need to be around people doing what they want to be doing. Put yourself around people who are where you want to be, because it raises the bar for you. And, you know, I'm going to use a term that some people may think is woo-woo, but it's so real, and Jesus created is frequency and resonance and energy. We are like our energetic selves, our being vibrates at a specific frequency, and it tunes to the frequencies around us. Just like a guitar tunes a D string will tune to the D note on a piano. You can tune your instruments by feeling the vibrations of the instrument. I tune my guitar by ear by feeling the vibration. So I'll use a tuner to help me get maybe the first note, and then I feel it. And when I feel a pure tone, that's when I know I'm in tune. Same way with people. You can feel if you're in alignment, and you will tune to what's around you. So
Mhm.
step out to the people that you want to be like and start tuning to that frequency. And so this is one of the things that I did today. So I spent my morning working at my second job because I'm a business owner and business doesn't always make a lot of money. So I have a second job. It's not really where I want to be, but it is a place that's serving me a little bit. But when I was done, I was like, you know what? I need to refresh me. I need to refresh me because I've been in an environment that is not where I want to be. So I came home and I showered off my day and I did things in my environment to help me raise me back up to say, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to be. And when you do things that serve who you want to be, it reinforces that. So I know that was a kind of a long explanation for that, but just the 5 people that you spend the most time around, and this is probably it probably includes your spouse, I would say, because we spend the most time with them. Include them. My husband is a musician, so we do things together so that we can be around people together so that we're both tuning and we're tuning together.
I'm so glad you brought this up because this is critically important, guys. I'm curious, for how many of you have Joey and I slowly moved into your top 5 with these weekly calls for 2 hours and like the amount of time that we spend in the network? Have we shifted into any of your top 5s? Just a raise of hand. I'm just curious because we're 6 months into this network. I'm curious if anybody. So Annie thinks so. Yeah. Sylvia. Yeah. So it's such a subtle thing, guys, a small thing, but what we would have given when we were just getting started in our careers to have this, to have access to people that have achieved the things that we want to achieve and are willing to break it down for us step by step and jump on calls and build relationship. Have you started to notice yet? You're slowly starting to think a little bit differently after your time in the network. Some of you just got here a few weeks ago. I see you nodding your head, Jacob. Like, you've only been here a few weeks, man. And like, so I know you're doing the work. You're starting to jump into this stuff. But do you notice you're starting to already think differently? Like, oh my goodness. It's like you might not even realize you're learning and growing yet, but you are subtly absorbing the energies from around you, the personalities from around you, right? And you might not notice it until all of a sudden you wake up 6 months later and you're like, man, somebody asked me a question before and like the way that I responded, like, oh my goodness, like what was that? Or you might run into an old friend of yours that you haven't seen in a really long time, and now you realize like, I don't seem to have quite as much in common as we used to. And something we get into in this course, guys, is social contracts, social agreements. And the people in your life, whether you know it or not, you have what are called social contracts with them. You have these underlying agreements that for some, hey, my agreement with Sally is that every Tuesday we get together and we complain about life. We haven't verbally said this is our agreement, but every time we're together, what do we end up doing? We end up complaining because she ends up complaining about something, then it pulls this need to complain from me out, and pretty soon we're just feeding each other with complaining. And then I've got my friend Dean over here, and me and Dino, we talk about, we keep each other in fear. And for some reason, that social agreement, that social contract is every time we're together, somehow it always leads to more fear or this sense of fear. And I leave a little more fearful and a little less confident about life. And now you surround yourself with enough of those people, guys. Start to analyze, okay, the sum of the 5 people around you, the people closest in your life right now, look at the social contracts. Are they serving you? Or are they actually keeping you limited, holding you back, pulling you down? This is why what Leslie just said is so valuable. You are the sum of the people around you, and that's just an actionable way to see, okay, yes, it's energy, but here's also a real world example, because what you say, what you speak, how you think, how you show up as, your personality trains your personal reality, and it turns into this this self-fulfilling prophecy, because the more you speak it and the more you become it, the more you do it, which fuels the feelings of like, oh no, this is me. So then you're going to act the same way again. You're going to show up the same way again. And pretty soon 10 years goes by and you didn't get your dream music career.
Yeah.
And you say the industry is unfair. And that's what happens to a lot of artists. And they quit because the industry was unfair. But really, was it?
Right.
The other thing I've noticed is sometimes that in the music space, there is a correlation between friend groups and monthly listeners and social media following.
It's funny, actually. This is a real thing, guys.
And there are there's a positive and a negative side. You could look at it. You could be like, okay, the people that all have 100,000 followers on Instagram hang out together. There could be a negative side where they just want to like buddy with people who are quote unquote more famous. But there could be more of a constructive side. And where I'm going with this is the collective of the 5 people, the culmination of the 5 people, their habits, the way they see life, it all rubs off on each other. And the thing is, like, as soon as an artist, especially, you'll figure out who's really friends with each other when one of the artists actually pops off, and then they completely they change their 5 friends, and now they're in a completely different stratosphere, and they left the other artists in the friend group with less monthly listeners or less followers. It's not every time, but I've seen it a handful of times. And a lot of the times, like, it's the habits and beliefs that are keeping all of the artists in the same spot, and they're all feeding into each other.
So are you saying that to hit that next level, they realized they actually had to break free of that and move away from it? Is that what you're alluding to? That artist that breaks out is like,
yeah, or it's like they're, for example, like in an echo chamber. It's like, let's say everybody's sitting at 1,000 monthly listeners, and they're all listening to advice from people with 1,000 monthly listeners because of they're the 5 people. But if they join something like the network, now there's different variants of monthly listeners.
Yeah.
And maybe you learn a little meta ads hack and you just apply that. And then all of a sudden you go from 1,000 to 10,000 monthly listeners because you gain that one little skill from somebody who was ahead of you.
yeah.
If that makes any sense.
And in that same situation, guys, it's social contracts again. You don't realize it because these aren't stated. They're just underlined. These other artists that might be in the same position as you, you're all thinking the same, you're all talking the same, you're all acting the same, and thus you become an echo chamber for each other. And if nobody's willing to break out and do what Leslie is really leading us here to do, to really start questioning and thinking bigger and like questioning what programs are running behind the scenes that are causing a lot of this stuff. If nobody's willing to do that, you're just going to realize it's an echo chamber.
Yeah,
yeah.
and I want to add to this that, the 5 people that you hang around the most should be people you want to be like. It doesn't mean that you don't leave. It doesn't mean you leave everybody behind. And it doesn't mean that those people don't matter anymore. But what it does mean is you're constantly in a state of looking for growth and being around like-minded people. And sometimes you find that sweet spot and you'll stay there. But we have permission to grow. We have permission to step out. We have permission to shift and change to what will serve us. And it's not selfish to do things that serve you because you can't pour from an empty cup. You need to be growing and pushing forward. And I want to bring an illustration about leadership to the table with this, because a true leader understands the people that are following them. And a true leader will step out from the crowd and go get the information the others are not willing to go get. But if a leader steps out to go get the information and climbs the mountain, for example, okay, I figured out this path to climb the mountain. Here I am at the top of the mountain, and I'm looking down at you going, look, here I am. Here's how you climb the mountain. People don't get it because you're up there. So it's like the quest, right? I talk about, and I just put out my first really deep analog monthly newsletter. I sent it out on the 1st yesterday. And within that letter, I talk about this concept of how we are on the hero's journey. And it's like a game of Zelda. We are on a quest and we are there to go get the elixir, right? So when we go get the elixir, we bring it back and we share it with those who didn't have the revelation before. So it's like a dance. I'm going to go before you and I'm going to bring it back to you so you can learn. This is exactly what you guys are doing with the Anthem Network. You stepped out, you went and got the information, you got the elixir, and you're bringing the elixir back to those who need it, to a thirsty community. But that doesn't mean that your top 5 is your community here. What it means is that you are still going out and getting elixir because you're a leader. Leaders go get the elixir. And if you want to be a leader, you don't go get the elixir and drink it yourself and never share it, because that's not leadership. Leadership is going and getting the elixir and bringing it back to the people who need it and walking with them. Sometimes you're ahead, sometimes you're behind pushing, and sometimes you're in the side walking with someone. But that's where the leadership really comes from. It's kind of like, even like with worship leading, you got the elixir from the Lord. You spent time in the secret place. You have what this thirsty congregation needs, and you bring it. You bring the elixir, and they get to drink too. And you teach them, this is how you go get the elixir. Can you do it too? Leaders build leaders.
Bars. There's been a lot of those on this call.
Yay. That's awesome.
Guys, our time is winding down here, and it's wild. I don't know if you can tell, but we have this tendency, after only 2 calls with Leslie, we can talk for hours about this stuff and
Yes.
and not even be close to having hit it all. We didn't even get into the mechanics of the voice at all.
We didn't.
And you know what? That's okay. Maybe in the future, we'll find an opportunity to have you back on or collaborate again and dive into that aspect of it, perhaps.
Absolutely.
but-
And I'm willing to share some of my resources too. I have courses that I created, and I will gift them to you if you want some of
Wow.
those. So I'll put some links in the community for that. I have a couple things that I can share.
That is
Love
very
it. Thank you.
that is very generous.
You're welcome.
As we wrap this up, Leslie, let me ask you this: what would you like to leave the artists, this community, everybody that we share this information with? What message would you like to leave with everybody that perhaps we have not covered yet on this call?
Yes, I have it. And this is the message that burns within me. And it is so whenever we talked about talking to that one, we talked about knowing who you're talking to and why you're doing what you do, your why. We didn't really touch on the why very much, but it's important. But beyond that, what would be the tragedy of you not sticking to what you're doing? What would be the tragedy? And for me, the tragedy is God called me to call out the voices of his people. And what tragedy would it be if I couldn't pull out what's in you to release it? It's a tragedy if you keep silent. It's a tragedy for me if you don't speak up, because your voice matters, and you were created with a specific sound, a specific resonance. And for you musicians, you know what I'm talking about. Nobody has your sound. And that's everybody in the earth. We are created uniquely with our specific frequency in the resonance of our voice. So to wrap this up with a pretty bow, and what I mean, the Lord told me, call up the roar of the lion in my people. And I said, what does that mean, Lord? And he said, in Revelation, it says, the voice of the lion is as the sound of many waters. And what he said to me in that, it's not just one sound. It's not just one roar. When Jesus, as the Lion of the tribe of Judah, opens his mouth in the end days, especially what he's talking about, and this is going on now, right? Time doesn't exist in the spirit. So everything he's talking about in the future is happening now. And I can't explain that because it doesn't make sense to me, but it is.
I have some
And-
thoughts on that eventually. But keep going.
Woo! Yeah, it's another hour. No, I'm just kidding.
I know. Actually, it would take an hour.
Yes. But he said, the sound of many waters is the nation's raging of the praises of his people. So the waters in the scripture is normally the raging at war. So it's warfare for you to speak up. It is warfare for you to speak up. And you are one of the specific resonance frequencies of the sound of Jesus's roar on the earth. And if you don't speak up, it's a tragedy that that person in front of you may not get what they came to you for. So your voice really does matter. No matter what somebody told you, whoever tried to silence you, that's the enemy. That's the warfare. Use your voice. Use your voice on this earth. Speak to the one in front of you. Speak to the masses, whatever he calls you to. Open up your mouth. It's worth it. And that's what I want to wrap it up with.
What a way to wrap it.
Gold mine.
Fantastic. Guys, if you got some value out of this, drop a comment in here for Leslie.
Give me my dopamine. I'm just kidding.
And so let's do this, Leslie. Where can everybody keep in touch with you, follow you? If they want to work with you, if they want more info about your courses and everything that you do, how can they find you? We're going to put all of this in the bottom of the videos as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, but maybe that'd be a good thing to share.
Yeah, the easiest thing to do, you can even message me in the network. I am here with you guys. I haven't been super active in the network because I've got a million things and moving parts, but I am here and I check in. Even if you don't see me, I'm there.
She's lurking.
I'm
in the
lurking.
shadows.
Always watching.
And then, so you can message me directly there. That'd be fine. And then you can also, my podcast, go to the podcast. I put the link in the chat. That is your guys' link. That's the link to your
Okay.
episode. So,
Sweet.
we went into some of these things and we went into other things too. So the podcast itself is a great way to just hear more about what I talk about and to get to glean from whatever I do in a free way. Right. And I have a free community that those people who are listening to the podcast can come and talk all things. And I jump in there and we talk about stuff there.
Awesome.
And that community is very new. So it's not super active yet, but it will be because the Lord told me to build it. And if you build it, they will come. Right.
Yeah.
And
Is it a
so
school community?
it's not, it's
Okay.
actually, it's just authenticvoiceleadership.com.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's probably not a very recognizable community platform, but I love it. It's called Green Lamp. And that's where
Okay.
my book is. You can get my book at anchor.mindshiftll.com. That's where I go deep into the inner healing side of things, of being anchored with your source when all things are crazy, like we were talking about earlier in the call. And here, I'll put that link in there because that's a good one to get, because I'll get, the book is only costing shipping and production. I don't make any money on it because I want it out there.
Cool.
Sweet.
I'll
Okay.
put that.
And then, do you have an Instagram or?
I do. My
profile
Instagram
that-
is Leslie Bayless.
Could you type that in? I have a feeling Bayless might confuse a few of the spellers.
Yeah, that's actually my middle name. It's not
Okay.
my last name. It's not my maiden name. It's my middle name.
Cool.
Okay, well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take all that information and we'll put under the video. This was so good. We're gonna be cutting this up for sure and putting this into the Internal Foundations course permanently, so everybody can find this and this information that you're referencing during that, because it was so valuable. And
Thank you.
yeah, I'm really excited for this. This is gonna be so helpful for everybody that sees it. Thank you for taking the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
genuinely
well, thank you for
appreciate
having me.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate
Yeah.
it very much. And let me know if you want some of these courses I can send to you. I have one called The Journey to the Authentic Voice. I'll give you that one. Radiate Authority, just the basic 30-minute masterclass with a workbook. I can give you that one. And it goes deeper into a little bit of these concepts. So if you want some of those, just shoot me a message and I'll send you the link to it, and I'll give you the code so you can have it.
Incredible.
Love it.
Well, okay,
Yeah,
tell you
thank you
what
so
we'll
much.
do. We'll stop recording and we'll end it here. Leslie, you can hang on for a couple minutes yet.
Okay.
And everybody else can bounce. But guys, thank you